All right, good morning, everybody. It's very interesting to me how I wanted to make a video. I heard something that I thought might be interesting to me that they said, before the commercial, that they said, stay tuned, we're going to talk about this and that. And then when I listened, I was like, all right, instead of making the video, I'm going to listen to the radio a bit more. And it was a theme that I've been teaching and preaching on for the past few weeks and listening to others teach about, interestingly, without being aware of what I was going to be talking about. This is what I spoke about yesterday, the difference between logos and mythos, the difference between that's how Jung describes it, how I describe it as, the Musar Avicha and the Torah Imecha. Why did this truck stop if it didn't turn? I don't understand. Well, I guess there were cars in front of it. Okay. So anyway, the masculine, the feminine, the prose, and the poetry as being informants of truth. And the fascinating thing is here, Hugh Hewitt was interviewing someone, I think his name Bill Bennett, and he was talking about a book that he wrote about a Christian saint named Nicholas, who people know as Santa Claus. Interestingly, a few weeks ago I read something. There was a story that a Catholic bishop from Africa came to visit a Catholic school somewhere in the United States. I don't remember where. He was talking to a 6th grade class, and he told them, Santa Claus is not real, but who Saint Nicholas was, according to the Catholic Church and according to history. And this and all the parents were very upset. Why was the bishop telling them that Santa Claus is not real? These kids, they have so little to be hopeful for, and why are you bursting their bubble? I was like, these are 6th grade kids, and they still think Santa Claus is real. But like Rabbi Bart Tzadok says, Santa Claus is a real idea. What does it mean, real? Real does not necessarily mean literally real, although it doesn't exclude the literal realness of certain things that are myth and legend for the sake of learning levels of truth in the poetic sense, in the Jungian sense. And again, so I'm just fascinated by that. And the primordial need for that level of understanding of the truth of myth. And it, strangely enough, relates to what I really wanted to talk about. I remember some time ago, we don't have television in our house. We don't have an antenna. We don't have a satellite dish. We don't have cable. We do have an internet connection that connects the Roku to a TV box. So we could watch, Torah anytime and things like that. It's Dabrus, and I guess it's called Hitabrut, and Torah videos on YouTube and things, So, and even on Amazon and Facebook, you find interesting. And the thing is, I also like old movies and stuff, so that are clean and whatever. And so this is what we have access to: old TV shows, old movies. That's some of the things that once in a while we'll watch occasionally. I still watch the Simpsons. Last night's Simpsons was interesting. This whole season has been pretty good. But anyway, I know a lot of people, and it's funny how even this episode kind of hinted to that, of how people criticize The Simpsons, like, oh, you're going to go back to season 4, is what Homer said to Krusty, and this and that, and perhaps that frustration. But it was an interesting study in this week's Simpsons. How here Krusty, he joined the circus. Here I'm doing just what Homer, and I give it a C plus. Krusty was maybe even a B minus. Krusty was, he tried to kill Homer because he was reviewing his show, and then he joins a circus, and like the circus clowns say they hate TV clowns, and then at the end, like, Krusty becomes their hero and their savior, but still they're like, but you're a TV clown, you're a traitor to our kind, we hate you, and that was it. And like it was a very interesting, look into how societies divide up, and that's, again, it's like the old joke, of which it could be just as true in any religion or any culture. I'll tell it the way I heard it, but it goes that, there was a man who, he was falling off a bridge. Another man came to rescue him, and he said, "Brother, are you religious?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Are you a Christian or a Jew?" He said, "Oh, so am I." He said, "Are you a Christian or a Jew?" He said, "I'm Christian." He said, "So am I." "Are you Catholic or Protestant?" He said, "I'm Protestant." "So am I." Which denomination?" He said, "I'm Presbyterian." He said, "So am I." He said, "Are you from the Eastern Conference or the Northern Conference?" He said, "Well, I'm from the Eastern Conference." And then, as he's retelling the story, he said, "And I let that heretic fall to his doom." Because sometimes the closer we are, the further we are away. And it's, it's sometimes easier for me in my work to sit down with a Christian or a Muslim than it is sometimes with another Jew. But I try to. And usually when we meet in person, that's an interesting thing. What else Hugh Hewitt was talking about today, there was someone who criticized him something on Twitter, so he invited him on the show. Maybe I should invite Rabbi Olitsky that we could have a phone interview and discuss these things as human beings. Kind of like what Rabbi Mesa does. And maybe, and one thing that's interesting, that Hugh Hewitt, he was asking this other guy who was interviewing, Hugh Hewitt is an interesting character because he tries to be fair to everyone, and it's very difficult. He really puts in a lot of hard work. I'm starting to appreciate him more and more, even though, and I'm a big fan of Glenn Beck, and Glenn Beck also does this, but it's hard to get Glenn Beck on the radio anymore, which is interesting, and also a symptom of what's going on. It's interesting we still have Hugh Hewitt, with that in mind, because, things are tending to go to extremes, and it's something we have to actually work on. How did I wind up getting so late here? Anyway, got stuck behind this truck or whatever it is, and then that kills it. I thought I'd be early today. So anyway, this in mind, And having listened to the radio, it kind of opens my mind to, the fact that, in person I would never speak the way I do on Twitter, and there's probably something wrong with that. Why do we act even on YouTube? I very rarely use the type of hyperbole, and that's what I write on the top of my Twitter. It says, if you're offended by something I said, just assume it's hyperbole or satire or something. But the fact of the matter is, and there's purpose in hyperbole and satire as well, just as there's purpose in myth. We should learn to be a devil's advocate so we can learn more about ourselves and engage in authentic apologetics so we can defend our own positions. And I don't think people are prepared to do that today. But that being said, I'm still holding to my position here, but I do feel a certain regret about how I've approached things, and that's part of the issue of Twitter. But but it's a little bit difficult and things. I remember, but that being said, I want to still say some things that I'm not sure I want to say, but I'm still going to say them. I remember some years ago, and because the same thing, when I was listening to this, 2 days ago, I was listening to Glenn Beck, and he was talking about, how to win friends and influence people, and how important it is to be positive. And that's something I tend to do in real life naturally and authentically. And on Twitter, I'm a different person than I'm quite often in real life. Although I'm not perfect, even in real life, I mess up in these things, and I gotta work hard on these. But it's very interesting, to see these type of issues in life and in the world. I remember some years ago I was mentioning the Roku, and I saw that there was a conservative temple had their services recorded. I can assume they had it set up before Shabbos to turn on at a certain time, maybe with a timer or something, to record their services that they share with whoever wants to watch it, which most likely is not that many people, just like my videos don't reach that many people, but every person who does watch it is very, very valuable. And I'm trying not to say nobody watches it, because everybody who watches these videos is somebody, and I'm trying to work on myself. I remember thinking to myself, I want to watch this conservative rabbi and how he conducts services, so I can learn, is there something I can learn from this person, because I'll be honest, having served as a rabbi in small communities, as much as we try not to, and maybe we shouldn't, we kind of still look up to the Reform and the Conservative as we want to know what's their secret. How do they get people in the door in ways that sometimes we can't? Although the fact of the matter is they don't. The truth is, if you go to a big Orthodox community of any sort, modern Orthodox included, they are vibrant and real, and a lot of stuff is going on, which is, not really the case so much with the Reform and the Conservative. But still, we would like to get those people through our doors, to try to get them back to Torah, even if they're not going to be totally orthoprax, if we can teach them some orthodoxy and things like that. And that being said, and perhaps leading to orthopraxy as well, halavai. I understand it's not that easy. But that being said, I was watching this guy and it was awful. The service went on way too long. The way he talked, he was interrupting constantly. The way he talked to people was so backbiting and insulting. And I was like, how is this? Why is, if he's going to act like this, why is he putting it up on the internet for other people to see? This is how he conducts his service? Really? I was like, all I have to learn from this guy is what not to do, because this is horrible and ridiculous and very uncomfortable. At this point, that's not really where I'm looking for inspiration, but still, I would think that, somebody, from, especially, so I encountered on Twitter Rabbi Jesse Olisky, who is from a big temple in New Jersey somewhere, apparently very popular and very influential. I don't know if he's Reform or Conservative. I think he's Reform. And I always say, to me, orthodoxy is more important than orthopraxy. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that. But I can forgive that, the shuls, they're sitting with no mechitza, or even they're giving women aliyahs. I mean, that's what it says in the Gemara. that it's technically allowed. It's just something we don't do. We don't do it because of covenant tzibur, but it's not like it's a sin, and things like this. And it's not for. I'm not saying that we should change, but that these people do this, it's not the end of the world. But the these are issues to discuss and what forth, so forth. But and now I'm at work. I don't have time to talk about this more. Maybe I'll make another video just discussing this. And I don't know if I want to apologize or not, because everything I said was 100% true. and what he said was absolutely heretical. That he said, he said that, somehow welcoming these invaders at the border is a Torah mandate of V'ahavtam es hager ki gerem ha'yisem be'eretz Mitzrayim. You should love the stranger because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. And I said, the stranger is the convert, and the convert has to accept certain things. You can't come to another country waving the flag of your country and throwing rocks at their soldiers and expect for us to love them. And he said no, because it says Kigerim, and he said that what he said that offended me the most. He said that's a later rabbinical interpretation and an ignorant one. And I was like, that is heresy to say that our sages are ignorant. And I said, you belong with the Lutherans. God bless them. I have I have no problem with Lutherans. But that's a solo scriptura attitude. That's not a Jewish attitude. And I guess we'll have to talk about this later. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment.